the industry that we're talking about and the skilled trades overall is all about building things and making
things that not just our country but the world needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've talked about this a lot today, Ryan. Doing it responsibly.
Right. Yes.
You know, and I think that's quite an opportunity having you here on the podcast. Like, you represent the people. Like, that's your job. And so you're here representing the people. What would you tell the people what you see about Better in Our Backyard and why it's worth your time? And you talked about all the people that are texting you. Why do they think you should be here? Why does that matter?
Well, I think a couple of things. First of all, you know, from a purely city fiscal standpoint, business pays the bills.
This is true.
It's not the same in every state, but in Minnesota, our commercial tax base pays roughly 2/3 of the bill. So when we're not growing a commercial tax base, we're asking homeowners to pay more, substantially more, to make up that difference, just to stay, you know, just to tread water. So if we actually want to invest or do some things differently, we want to grow our commercial tax base. We want to grow our business. And, you know, unfortunately, Duluth over time has had kind of a difficult place to do business reputation. So opportunities like this to talk about that we want to be good partners to business, we want to grow that commercial tax base. That's certainly part of why I'm here. These are the folks that help me pay the bills without having to ask a lot from homeowners. But it also is about, right, growing jobs and growing the economy. And again, connecting back to what have we historically done? We've shipped things out from a port. We have shipped things by rail. Now we do it by airport and the road. One of the other things that's unique about Duluth in 2025, we in Minnesota have every form of transportation, port, airport, rail, road, and that is not true of really any other community in this state. And post-pandemic, we know logistics and transportation matters. So when we make things here and use all those modes of transportation to ship them out, that is Duluth as a regional center representing what our region is doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you articulated it really well. It's almost like maybe you talk for a living. But in all honesty, I mean, I think that's something that people need to hear, not even for Duluth, but it's like we need to be investing in our future. And I don't think a lot of people realize what industry can bring to the table so that it doesn't cost the homeowner, you know, or the non-commercial industry person that money.
Yeah.
And also you talk about the economy, jobs, all of that stuff. This is what we need to be doing, investing in our future.
But, you know, to come back to something you said earlier, it's not at no bar, right? We know, and this is something, again, I learned in that time that I was in the legislature because I got to be close with the legislators from the range.
Yeah.
And in fact, I took the opportunity to go up and spend a couple days learning. Once I saw that economic connection, I'm like, I need to know more. And went up for a couple days and learned about mining and learned about timbering and learned about things that benefit Duluth, but we don't do. We don't cut a tree. We don't dig up anything, but we benefit from that. So I wanted to understand more, like, how do you do that? How do you do that responsibly? What are your standards? And the thing that really stuck with me was, in Minnesota, because of our laws and our regulations, like we arguably do it better than anyone in the world. And the producers said, we're okay with that. Like, we're okay with that. Set a standard, make it a consistent standard that we know that we can meet. You know, don't constantly move the target on us, and we will meet it. And we would rather do it here than in a third world country where there's no laws, no regulation, and they're using child labor, which we know happens all the time. So if we're not doing it responsibly, someone is doing it irresponsibly.
Yeah.
And then secondarily, as Duluth, we're not seeing any economic benefit of that. So, you know, I know there's folks who will hear this, and I will be maybe critiqued, but the reality is
welcome to the internet.
Oh my gosh, I'm
the mayor's aware.
Welcome to the internet and being an elected official. When did haters just become like part of our everyday lexicon? When I was a kid, you didn't use that word, but and I'm not that old. No, but not to get too far off track, you know, we can do both. Like, we can have amazing water and quality and green space and those outdoor places we all love, and it's a reason we call this region home. while also responsibly managing and making use of the natural resources that are there.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I heard you just say is we can do both.
Yeah.
I think it's not one or the other. We can
Josh,
do both.
believe it or not, I mean, to what Mayor Reinert is saying, like where Duluth took a break, I mean, it is literally, what he just said has been quite literally an act of God to get like Duluth city politicians to say something as simple as that. I mean, I think outside of Councilor Forsman, there's really not anyone else I can think of, and I mean that's just something that we got to get back to, and that's why it's key for him to be here.
But I think it's really that understanding that we are a community that is intricately connected to our region. You know, and we're talking about the range a lot, northeastern Minnesota, but northwestern Wisconsin, it's timbering. I mean, we are in a part of the world, a part of the country that is natural resource based. And you think about the precious metals that we know are in abundance within the region. You think about helium as a new, like who 2 years ago thought helium was a thing, and now it's a global thing. And you know, we have to look at how do we do, what does our nation need us to do, and how do we do that responsibly, and nobody better than us to be the stewards since we live here, and we want our generations to live here.
Absolutely.
That's good. That's good. I really appreciate your willingness to sit down, especially in your role, to sit down and be on camera.
No, absolutely.
And say that things and have, on the line, our statement is we want to have real and honest conversation. And that's what you're doing. And you're doing that not only for the people of Duluth, but anybody that's listening to this. And it truly is about being better in your backyard, not just our backyard.
Well, and I appreciate the invitation, you know, to bring this full circle. You know, Duluth today is still a community that makes things. So whether it's a paper plant making finished products like toilet paper and tissues, whether it's a steel plant that's still producing steel, or Cirrus manufacturing airplanes, we make things, and the stuff that comes together in those things comes from somewhere. So why would we not want to responsibly do that in our region? And then have the follow-on effect here in our community. And I think sometimes we just have to have those honest conversations, like the materials that go into those things don't magically appear from nowhere, right? They come from somewhere. We can be doing it here, doing it to the highest standard possible, or someone can be doing it somewhere else irresponsibly. And so I would rather us be doing it here.
Very well said.
Yeah, very well said.